David Lammy just ended his own career with 7 words. Britain's Deputy Prime Minister compared Nigel Farage to the Hitler Youth on camera. And what happened next is absolute political carnage. This is the moment the immigration debate in Britain completely exploded. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Labour's entire strategy is collapsing in real time. Because what you're about to see isn't just one politician making a mistake. This is the establishment losing control of the narrative. This is years of smears and accusations finally backfiring. And this is why millions of British voters are angrier than they've ever been. Here's what they don't want you to know. If you're tired of politicians lying straight to your face, hit subscribe right now because we're about to expose the biggest backpedal in modern British politics. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Let me set the scene for you. It's a routine press conference. Cameras rolling, journalists assembled, standard political theater. Then comes the question, simple, direct, unavoidable. Do you think Nigel Farage is racist? Now, most politicians would see this trap from a mile away. They'd deflect, dance around it, give you 3 minutes of carefully rehearsed nothingness about respecting all viewpoints and focusing on policies, not personalities. Not David Lammy. Britain's Deputy Prime Minister, the second most powerful person in government, decided to go nuclear. He claimed Nigel Farage once flirted with the Hitler Youth during his school days. Let me repeat that. A Nazi comparison from the Deputy Prime Minister. On the record on camera, the reaction was instant chaos. Social media platforms erupted within minutes. Twitter, X was on fire. Even journalists who typically give Labour a soft ride were asking, did he actually just say that? Because here's what you need to understand about British politics. You don't casually throw around Hitler comparisons. You don't invoke the Nazis unless you have ironclad evidence. It's the nuclear option. And once you launch it, there's no taking it back. It cheapens history. It insults the memory of millions who actually suffered under fascism. And politically, it's suicide. But here's the beautiful irony. Nigel Farage didn't even flinch. He called it complete nonsense and moved on with his day. Because Farage understands something fundamental about modern politics. Every establishment attack makes him stronger. Every time Labour or the mainstream media or Westminster insiders try to destroy him, they prove his entire point that the establishment is terrified. That they have no real arguments, that they're so desperate they'll reach for the worst smear imaginable. And millions of British voters see it. They see the panic. They see the desperation. And they ask themselves, if Farage is so wrong, why can't they just debate him? Why do they always resort to character assassination? But the real story isn't the insult itself. It's what happened in the 48 hours that followed. Because David Lammy was dragged back in front of cameras and the transformation was stunning. Gone was the confident swagger, the tough guy posturing, the moral certainty. Instead, you're looking at a man who just realized he stepped on a landmine. A politician in full damage control mode. His body language screamed panic. His words wire of desperation. He says, and I quote, "Farage has denied it, and I accept that he has denied it. I would like to clarify my position." Clarify. That's Westminster, code for I made a catastrophic mistake, and I'm desperately trying to undo it before it destroys my career. Then comes the admission that should end any politician's credibility. He says, I wasn't at school with Nigel Farage. I don't know what songs he sang at school. Wait, let me make sure I understand this correctly. You accused someone of Nazi sympathies. You invoked the Hitler Youth, one of the darkest chapters in human history. And you based it on what exactly? School rumors you couldn't verify? Gossip you heard somewhere. Something you vaguely remember reading years ago. This is Britain's Deputy Prime Minister. This is the person second in line to run the country. And he's admitting on camera that he made one of the most serious accusations possible without any evidence whatsoever. The arrogance is breathtaking. The recklessness is stunning. But the backpedaling, that's what makes this historic, because now we get to the part that changes everything. Now we get to the moment that will be played in Reform UK campaign videos for years to come. Karma himself was forced to respond. The Prime Minister, Labour leader, the man trying to hold this circus together. A reporter asked to him directly, is Nigel Farage racist? And Starmer's answer will haunt Labour for a generation. He says, no, I do not believe Nigel Farage is racist, nor do I think Reform voters are racist. They're concerned about our borders. Let that land for a second. Really let it sink in. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom just admitted that Nigel Farage isn't racist. That Reform UK voters, millions of them, aren't racist either. that they're simply concerned about immigration. After months of Labour MPs calling reform dangerous, after years of sneering at working-class voters as bigots and extremists, after countless media appearances, where they implied or stated outright that anyone worried about immigration was motivated by hatred, after all of that, the Prime Minister just said it out loud. They're not racist. They're just concerned about immigration. This is a seismic shift in British politics. This is the moment the mask slipped. This is Labour admitting what millions of voters have known all along. The racism accusations were always a weapon, a way to shut down debate, a strategy to avoid uncomfortable questions, and now they've admitted it on camera. Every Reform UK campaign ad from now until the next election will play that clip. Even Keir Starmer admits we're not racist. So why does Labour keep smearing us? Why do they call us extremist? Why do they try to silence us? Labour's entire strategy just collapsed. In one press conference, in one honest answer that Starmer probably wishes he could take back. But wait, because somehow it gets even worse for them. Just days later, Starmer is asked about Donald Trump. The U.S. president had claimed London is heading towards Sharia. Sharia law, the reporter asks, was that racist? Watch what Starr does here. Watch the sudden change in approach. His response: I'm not going to start down the road of discussing whether things said by others are racist or not. I'm sorry, what? When it's Nigel Farage, a British politician, leader of a UK party representing millions of British voters, Labour leaps at the microphone. They invoke the Hitler Youth. They smear, they attack, they go nuclear. But when it's Donald Trump, the American president, making inflammatory claims about Britain's capital, suddenly we're taking the diplomatic high road. Suddenly we don't comment on whether statements are racist. This is the hypocrisy that drives ordinary people absolutely insane. This is the double standard that's destroying trust in British politics. This is why millions of voters feel like the game is rigged. Rules for thee, but not for me. Attack the domestic opponent. Protect the powerful ally. Say whatever serves the moment. Then act shocked when people call you out. British voters see it. They see the calculation. They see the panic. They see the desperate attempt to play both sides. And they're done with it. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage issued his own warning. And this part should genuinely concern everyone, regardless of where you stand politically. He said, Storm's rhetoric branding reform policies as racist, calling them extreme, painting millions of voters as dangerous, directly threatens the safety of reform. Campaigners on the ground, and he's not wrong. We've already seen political violence in Britain. We've seen the shocking murder of Charlie Kirk. We've seen activists attacked. We've seen intimidation and threats. Words have consequences. When you paint millions of people as dangerous extremists, when you compare them to Nazis, when you create an environment where half the country is labeled as hateful bigots, you create targets. You give permission to the genuinely violent. You legitimize aggression against the bad people. You create a moral framework where attacking your political opponents becomes righteous. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening, and Labour's reckless rhetoric is fueling it. But here's the part that should genuinely alarm you about where this is all heading. While everyone's focused on Lamb's blunder and Starr's backtracking, Labour quietly pushed forward with something far more sinister, a controversial mandatory digital ID system. They claim it's about tackling illegal work, about security, about keeping Britain safe. Critics call it surveillance overreach, an authoritarian power grab, a system designed to monitor law-abiding British citizens while boats continue crossing the channel unabated. Think about the timing here. Think about the pattern. Labour smears anyone asking hard questions about immigration as racist. They refuse to secure the borders. Crossings continue daily. They backpedal when caught in obvious lies and hypocrisy. And now they want mandatory digital IDs to monitor the entire population. So let me ask you a direct question. Is this really about border security or is this about control? Because here's what it looks like from the outside. Labour can't control the borders. They can't stop illegal immigration. They can't provide solutions to the concerns of millions of voters. But they can surveil you. They can track you. They can implement systems that monitor law-abiding citizens while the actual problem continues unrest. Farage has been warning about this trajectory for years. He said the establishment would sacrifice freedom while failing to solve the actual problem, that they'd create massive surveillance, infrastructure while borders remain porous. And here we are watching it happen in real time across Britain right now. From Yorkshire to Cornwall, from Scotland to Wales, People are done, absolutely finished. Done with the smears. Done with being called racist for wanting controlled borders. Done with politicians who panic when cornered. Done with double standards and desperate backpedaling. Done with a government that can't secure borders, but wants to track your every move. David Lammy thought he could crush Nigel Farage with one ugly comparison. He thought he could score easy political points by invoking the worst evil in modern history. Instead, he may have handed Reform UK their biggest recruitment tool ever, because nothing unites people faster than being unfairly attacked by those in power. And when the Prime Minister himself admits they're not racist, that's not just a headline. That's vindication for millions who've been silenced and shamed for years. David Lammy is now fighting to save his political career. Keir Starmer is scrambling to hold his fractured party together, and Nigel Farage is watching the whole establishment crumble in real time. This isn't just another political scandal. This isn't just another news cycle that will be forgotten next week. This is the moment the immigration debate broke wide open. This is the moment Labour's strategy collapsed. This is the moment millions of voters realized they were right all along, and the establishment knew it. Because when you smear millions of voters, then backpedal on camera. When you cry racism, then admit you were wrong. When you reach for authoritarian solutions instead of fixing the actual problem, when you show one set of rules for your enemies as another for your allies, you lose the people. And history shows us one undeniable truth. When governments lose the people, OP, they lose everything. This story is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. The next few months will determine whether Labour survives this mess or whether we're watching the beginning of their collapse. So here's what you need to do right now. Drop a comment. Do you think David Lammy will survive this? Do you think he should resign? Because I genuinely want to know what you think. Hit that like button if you're sick of politicians treating you like you're stupid. If you're tired of the lies, the smears, the desperate backpedaling. And subscribe, because we're tracking every move Labour makes next. Trust me, they're terrified of what's coming. They know the walls are closing in, and we're going to document every moment. The establishment doesn't want you talking about this. They want this buried, forgotten, dismissed as just another political spat. So share it. Send it to everyone who needs to hear the truth. Post it where people are still asking questions. Make sure this story doesn't disappear, because the people deserve better than panic lies and desperate backpedaling. They deserve leaders who respect them, who tell the truth, who solve problems instead of surveilling citizens. This is just the beginning. Stay with us. See you in the next